Welcome to Nerds Code. My name is Nemir, and in this video we are going to learn some basics of Linux shell and Linux operating system. So if you are new to this channel, in this channel we discuss everything about computer science and technology. So if you are interested in this, you can do a subscribe and hit the bell icon so that you can get the notification every time I upload a video. So without wasting any more time, let's get into the video. So guys, first of all, we are learning some basics of Linux operating system. So without the basics, we can't do anything about that. So cut, start. So guys, first of all, we are learning some basics of Linux. So that what is Linux and what is Linux distributions and what is a terminal, such things. So for for the purpose of demonstration, I'm using a virtual machine. Here you can see that I'm using a Ubuntu virtual machine here, Ubuntu Mate. Okay, so basically Linux operating system. So for simplicity, we call it a Linux kernel. It's a kernel. So most of you may or may not hear about kernel. So kernel is nothing but a piece of software which helps users or operating system to interact with the hardware of the machines. So Linux defines some programs so that any distribution of Linux, don't worry about that, and I'll tell you what is a distribution later, so that anything can communicate with the hardware. So that's a Linux kernel in a nutshell. So moving up, we have Linux distribution. Here most of us think that Ubuntu and what we say Kali Linux is both are different things, right? Most of us, even I used to think like that, like both Linux and Ubuntu and Kali are both are different things. So basically Ubuntu and Kali are distributions of Linux. That means they use the core same Linux kernel to achieve the communication between hardware. So that's the basic. If you go to the internet and search for top Linux distributions, you can see there are a lot of Linux distributions: Ubuntu, Arch Linux, Fedora, Deepin, Ubuntu, Manjaro, Ubuntu Mate, and Kali Linux, Parrot Linux, everything. And also our Android, the operating system running on our phone, is also a distribution of Linux. But there are some changes to that, and if you are interested in, I will make a video about that. What's the difference between Android and the standard desktop Linux distribution? So that's it. That's about Linux distributions. So we can use any distribution for this tutorial. I use Ubuntu Mate because it's a very lightweight distribution. It can run on any machine with bare minimum specs. So specs are not an issue there. And if you don't want to lose your Windows, if you are a Windows guy, if you don't want to lose your Windows, you can install a VirtualBox or any virtualization software on your PC and install a Ubuntu IS on it. So that's so easy. You can just do it on your own. Just go to the Ubuntu website and download the IS, install it, the standard setup. Okay, so coming up, what is a terminal actually? So it's a to describe what is a terminal, we need to go to some ancient times where the typewriters exist. In that time, terminal is just a composition of a keyboard and an output which displays what types. If I type some keys on my keyboard, and there is a in the case of typewriter there is a node, right? There is a node which gives the letters printed on the paper. So this combination is called terminal. Terminal is just a window. Okay, in modern Linux systems we don't have a terminal. It's way back. It's deprecated in way back. So in modern Linux system we use some softwares called terminal emulators, which basically nothing but which emulates a terminal. What mean by emulation? Emulation means it's just logically doing uh, the terminal things. Okay, you can open up your terminal from Ubuntu Meta. I have it in system tools. I think, yeah, you can see the Meta terminal. So this is nothing but a terminal emulator. This is not an actual terminal. Okay, if you are very interested in some how Linux system works in very detailed and comprehensive way, I can make a video for that. So in this tutorial we don't have to dig that much deep, so some basics knowledge are more than enough. So okay, so that's about terminal. And so when I open up terminal, you can see here my username and some weird text on it. What's that? It's a shell program. Yes, you heard it right. It's a shell program. So you may ask, what is a shell? Oh, shell is nothing but a program which runs on a terminal, and also it's an interpreter in some way because it can interpret some commands. That's what we learn in this series of videos. We learn about how shell interprets commands and what are the commands, and we also learn about how to write shell programs later on this series. So as of now, that's about shell. Okay, and here I can type anything in. See, I just type something. So it gives me command JSD not found. Did you mean something else? Blah blah blah. I don't want this crap. So here we go. We are studying our very first shell command called echo. So what's echo? Echo takes an input. So you may, yeah, everything wants an input, right? To process. We call it operands. So I type echo hi and press enter. So it returns me that hi to me. That's an echo. It's just echo in the physics. Just echoes whatever we type it. You can see it there. So that's our first command. It's an echo. So some maybe ask where the echo comes from and how the shell know where the echo is and what is an echo. Actually, what is that actually? So in Linux world, everything is a file. That's the basic of Linux. Everything in Linux world is a file. So if I go to my name is home directory here, and I go to my root directory, and also in Linux everything starts from a root. So directory, it's like a root of a tree. Like in the case of tree, it also it will have a root, and from that root it's built upon that. Likewise, Linux systems, or all Unix like systems built from a root. So in this root we have a bin folder right here, and we click it, and you can see that there's a lot of files also here. And if I just scroll down, ABCD, where is that? See, here is it. Here it is. Echo. So echo is nothing but an executable file. It is executed by the shell. Like I said earlier, shell is an interpreter. So that program is interpreted by shell, then the result will be executed directly on your CPU. That's a different. So don't worry about that. So here we go, shell, echo, sorry. So in default, our shell looks for some path variables like environment variables. So there's, if I type echo $path, it lists all the path variables in my system. And if I press enter, directories here. That means nothing but folders. Root user local sbin, root user local sbin, and so much more. So basically our shell will look up in these folders for the files means for the commands, then it executes from there. That's how shell commands works. So that's it for all today, and we will see you soon in the next video. Until then, practice and be a Linux ninja. Bye bye.